Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad that we could be here today to help you, learn how to do an interview and, answer all your questions, hopefully, so that we can see you down the road interviewing with us. We're HMC architects. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about us. Get this working. So HMC is very mission driven. We are really, all of us are very invested. You'll find with the people you're talking to today, very invested in our mission for HMC, really to partner with our clients and serve the greater good. And so this is what we have focused on for the past 80 plus years of our existence. And we do this in 4 different markets. We do this in civic, we do it in healthcare. So all of these spaces are really devoted to giving back to the community. In our higher education spaces, like at Cal Poly, and in pre-K-12. So my name is Christina Singheiser, and I am the managing principal of the Los Angeles office at HMC. I'm a Cal Poly grad, class of '99, and had the privilege of working on the new student housing project that just completed last year. So if you all have seen that, I was the principal in charge on that project. We're super excited about that. It's been winning lots of awards and it's just a fantastic project. So a little bit about what we do. We kind of cover the whole gamut of architectural services, interior design, sustainability, and we have kind of several groups that are a part of us, including our digital practice and our media lab. Media lab is something that we've really been kind of pioneering this year with involving our graphics design folks into our projects and into a lot of environmental graphics and storytelling in all of our spaces. So we were established in over 80 years ago. So we've been doing this for a long time, and it's all been about the community and giving back to the community. We're over 300 employees, and we are 100% employee owned. We're an ESOP, which is kind of a unique corporate structure. Is that each employee is very critical in the success of the success of the firm. So we all work towards the firm, and we succeed with the firm, and we fail with the firm. So it's really a great way to get everybody involved. And part of this is we have our own nonprofit called the Designing Futures Foundation, where another way that we give back to the community. And in the last 10 plus years, we've given over $1 million back to the community in the terms of grants for groups, and just really trying to have this positive impact on our communities. So it kind of down to designing for good. And so, some of the other things, I'm going to stop my share now so I can see you all. Some of the other things that I know we wanted to talk about today, and my colleagues are all on the phone and they can jump in at any time. I don't need to be doing this by myself. So please feel free to jump in. But, one of the things we were asked is like, what is HMC looking for in new employees? And really, we're looking for people that want to help us, continue our mission, that really want to give back to the community, to be a part of the community that they live in. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for passionate architects of all different kinds, interior designers, graphic designers, architects, anybody that can help kind of us further that mission. So I'm going to kind of pause for a second. I did a long spiel, and see if anybody else from HMC wants to jump in and say anything before we start talking about how to come prepared to an interview.
Christina, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, so I wanted to add to that last piece you mentioned about many different pieces of the team that we're. I know at times it seems like when we're evaluating you, portfolio seems to be weighed very heavily, but keep in mind that the talent that we're looking for is not necessarily the ability to create a beautiful building, but the ability to work together as a team and make a family that not only reflects HMC's mission, but also, presents this to the client as a unifying type of condition. So you can imagine coming in as a team member into HMC. What we're hoping to find is people that work well together, that have an ability to join it's basically pieces of the team that can come together to deliver a project. And that's what I wanted to touch on. I think sometimes people often get very nervous about their ability to present a project, to say that they're, that the next Frank Lloyd Wright. It's not necessarily the case, where we are definitely a mixture of very talented people, and we all carry our strengths through that. And that's one of the things you guys want to focus on, is what your strengths are and what you guys can deliver to a team.
And
Thank you.
that's a
Yeah.
really good point, Jimmy. I mean, I think one of the main things that we're looking for is diverse kind of opinions and ideas, because really architecture is all about ideas, and how we put it together is, another thing. So you bring a unique perspective because of your life and what you've been through and what you've experienced. And so how can we take that and fold it into the next generation of buildings, or interior design or planning? So Virginia, you want to add something?
Yeah, one of the things I also find is a lot of us have been working for so long, and sometimes we're so used to it, we get into the groove and we know what has to be done here and what has to be there, and a little bit we get a little jaded in our ideas. And what we're looking for you is to bring some new ideas, really help us to stretch our imagination sometimes. So that value you have, that is those new ideas, or sometimes is how to use some of the software that's out there, because you're learning it and it's hard for us sometimes to keep up. We're doing our best and we have some experts in house too, but how are you using that software? How are you collaborating? How are you bringing in those, out of the box ideas that could really help? I mean, and that really helps us a lot.
Okay. So, oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add, kind of tangentially, whether it's HMC or another firm, when you are interviewing, it could either be a feel that you get about a company's culture, or a direct question, because you're not a supplicant. You're applying yourself to a place that you're going to spend, a majority of your daytime hours, hopefully, for the next however many decades, pursuing something that you're passionate about. And oftentimes we end up thinking that maybe that we're a designer, but you realize that, what I'm really interested in is project management, or specifications, or graphic design. So that's, especially when you're coming out of school, hopefully the firm that you're interviewing with isn't going to pigeonhole you into a specific job type. So think about, what are my opportunities to explore other areas, and my ability to end up somewhere different than what I think I may think is my strength. So again, you're an applicant, not a supplicant. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue, John, into how to come prepared to an interview. And I'll have everybody weigh in on this, but I think a lot of it is make sure you do your research. You know who you're talking to. That's really important. When we have interviewees come in and they don't really know much about HMC, it's kind of like, well, you could have done some research on the internet and found out about us and what we're interested in. And a lot of the stuff I've just told you, you could have very easily found out on our website as well. So it's not breaking news. So I think that's really important. And I think it's important for you to have questions to ask us, because that shows us that you're interested, and it shows us what you're really thinking about when you're coming to a new job. Is it ask about the culture? ask about, what would my typical day be like? You want to show that kind of interest and ask those probing questions about, types of projects and what project might I be working on if I started with you. And, we want to hear from you why it is that you are interested in architecture or graphic design or interior design. What it is that, show us your passion. Tell us why it is you're doing this as you go through your projects.
Hey, Christina. Can you hear me?
Steve, you want to add?
Sure. Yeah. Everything everyone says is great. So, when you guys come into an interview, we don't know anything about you. We're looking to establish rapport and chemistry with you, right? We're asking questions. We want to know who you are, what gets you out of bed in the morning. I'm not just interviewing you for what you're going to do 8 hours a day, because you're going to bring the other 8 hours of your life into the workplace too. So I want to know, I want to know what drives you. I want to know culturally what you are focused on, whether it's environmental, social, or whatever, because those all play a factor in who HMC is, right? And I'm looking at you in a future tense, in that I'm looking at the floor and I'm looking at my teams, and I'm looking at you amongst that team and how you fit into that team, right? How are you going to interact with that team? What are you going to bring? You're coming out of school and you're not expected to know everything, but I expect a level of desire and wanting to know what the next thing is. You'll bring some knowledge with you, but I'm more seeking to know, how eager you are to learn more, how open you are to learning more, because architecture is continually changing. How we deliver changes, what we deliver changes, our clients change. You got to be flexible and you got to be malleable in the fact that you got to be open to new ideas and new opportunities. And if you bring that energy into the room, then I know that, hey, this person's not going to get all burned out or worn out. Because we're not going to be doing the same thing every day. It's going to change continually. And I want to know that you're up for that and you're excited about that. So that's kind of a perspective I like to see.
Hector, Angel, you want to add something about what questions are good to ask at an interview or what you're looking for?
Yeah, I just want to tie into what Steve was saying. It's really important, at least for what I am looking for, is, somebody that is just eager to learn, a quick learner. It'll be great if you have, certain experiences that will, tie into what we do at HMC, but that's not really what I focus on. I really focus on how quick you will be able to pick up on things. The mentoring, the molding, that's all on us, on HMC. And so I wouldn't be focused so much on your past experience, not too much about that. You just need to try to find a way to connect with the interviewer, to express that you are there to learn, that you are there to be loyal to that employer, and that you are hungry, basically, that you will do whatever it'll take to be successful for that firm. And all while trying to, be yourself and be personable. It is tough, but, hopefully within the interview itself, there will be discussions that are not something that you had planned on having. And that's when your personality will actually come through.
Great, thank you, Angel. Yeah, I'm Hector Cruz. I'm the managing principal in our healthcare group in Ontario. And I think to remember for all of you is, you're coming out of school, you're in school, you're exploring, you're trying to figure out what you want to do. You don't have to know what it is, you're going to focus on. Some of you may not, right? You can explore, you can experiment once you get to where you want to be. And is it healthcare architecture, or is it commercial, school, civic? You don't have to figure that out right away. Explore, see what you enjoy, because you're in architecture because you love what you do. We're like, the rare sort of group where we work very hard in school. You work very hard when you get out of school, and you do because you love it, right? And it's this passion that you have. So that passion, don't hang yourselves up about whether I have to fit in right away and what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my career. You have time for that. Just bring that energy, right? I look for a work ethic as well. What is that work ethic that you're bringing? What energy? Because we understand that, yes, you're doing presentation in school, and that definitely helps when you come into the profession, that you're comfortable in the room and you can present, right? If you want to be a designer, you have to know how to present. If you want to be a project manager, you have to present with clients. Presentation skills are very important. So continue to practice that. Always look for those opportunities to present, be in public, be in group settings. And we all have 5 years of that in school, right? Already. So take that to heart and try to improve yourselves in those categories as much as possible.
Alexis, maybe I'll put you a little bit on the spot and see if you can add something, since you're kind of the most closely related to the students on the phone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis Garcia. So I got out of school maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but I do have a lot of experience interviewing through previous jobs and such. And I actually taught teenagers how to interview and stuff like that. So my main advice is kind of what Steven said is, you're coming out of school and there are going to be people in the industry that expect you to know what you want, to know technical things that, you may not learn in school. But the really important thing is to be sure of yourself. Whatever that is, whatever you're interested in, just be sure. And to go into that interview, just knowing what your interests are, what your passions are. Not only that is researching the firm that you're interviewing for. It's very important, not only because you feel like the firm may be interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them. Is this a good fit for you? This is a career, right? And you want to be able to spend most of your day in a place that is good for you, is a good environment. So that means, researching things for yourself. Is this a good fit for me? Ask them questions that are aligning to your passions and the things that you're interested in. And if it's not, then that's okay. You don't have to feel like you're put on the spot because of those things. But definitely ask questions. Ask questions, a lot of questions, and be interested in what you do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Alexis, is that we're interviewing you, but you're also interviewing us. And that's really important. I mean, because you are going to be spending the majority of your time with these people. So you want to make sure that you're making the right fit. And if it's good for you, then it's going to be good for the firm too. So, because nobody is at their best when they're unhappy with, where they're working. So it really needs to be a back and forth win-win situation for both people.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, Stephen also mentioned about your portfolio, and I think we put a lot of emphasis on our portfolios when we're coming out of school. We want to show that we know the best software and we can do this and that. Your portfolio will speak for itself. We will know what looks good and what doesn't look good, but what we're interested is what you're interested in, what you have to bring to the table in terms of your experiences, being a problem solver. Because at the end of the day, HMC is really about a team. I've worked at other offices and heard experiences through my friends, and HMC is really a place where we cater to everybody. And whether or not you're a designer one or you're a project manager or a senior position, we all work together, and there's never this sense of you do the grunt work because you're a designer one or something like that, right? Everybody has potential to do to do something on the team, wherever you bring that experience from.
So I don't know if there's any other comments. Otherwise, Henry, I think we can probably open it up to questions for your general Q&A before you guys break out into your kind of individual rooms.
Yeah, I think we could do that. So does anybody have any questions? You could just raise your hand or just go ahead. Antonio?
Hi, Christian, this is actually for you. So I was reading an article or looking at your website, and there was that article or you were in a panel about working in the age of COVID. And where you see us like going after this. Are we going to go back to the studio, or are we going to like continue to work remotely? Is it more profitable for companies to be remote, or does the studio culture really push projects forward and you guys are missing it? So that's really like kind of what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. And, you know, on the panel, it was really everybody still kind of trying to figure out the best way to move forward. You know, at HMC, we are still 100% remote. Our offices are available for like resource centers. So if we need to go in for major printing or our libraries or things like that. But, you know, as it moves forward, I think we're all struggling with the balance between working remote, which we all found out we can do really well, but missing that kind of interaction, you know, that human interaction is still important. It's something that we all need. And the way we collaborate has changed a lot. And it's going to continue to change as we kind of probably end up with some kind of hybrid of people working at home and people working in the office. And so we've learned how to collaborate remotely, but now we're going to have to kind of then again take it to the next level and figure out how to collaborate remote and in person at the same time, right? That hybrid, you know, a lot of what our teachers are working through right now with students, you know, all throughout to figure out how to have some students in the classroom and have some, you know, students remotely and still have a connection. So I think we don't have an answer yet. We're still all trying to figure out, but we recognize that, you know, the remote collaboration has really opened up another avenue for us to be able to grab talent from all over and really kind of infuse a new viewpoint from all over the country, let's say, into our studios where before it was maybe more localized. So I think it's giving us a lot of opportunities, but we're not sure where we're still testing the waters as to where it's going to go.
I was going to say, Christine, I want to add a little bit to that. So
yeah,
the remote working has opened up opportunities for this to kind of reinvent or organize ourselves around how we relate to each other, because we're very in the office, very, you know, rub elbows with my staff every single morning and talk about 5 minutes of what happened last night or what they've been doing with their kids before we even started work. The remote working created an opportunity where I had to rethink how I did that in a more thoughtful way. So with my teams, we do a 30-minute huddle every day. At the end of the day, they give me a recap of what they did that day and what they're going to be working on tomorrow. But there's also about 10 or 15 minutes of specifically non-work related discussion about anything that they want to talk about, the chicken coop they're building in the backyard, some interesting thing that happened on our block, just to kind of keep that connection. And I found that's been very, very helpful in helping me stay in tune with them, not just the content and the work they're doing, but their personal lives too, because, you know, we are not the sum of our jobs. We're the sum of our families, our friends, where we live. And I think it's important for us all to kind of have that level of camaraderie. So I really kind of like, you know, although I don't like the not seeing my staff every day part, you know, the screen here doesn't nearly give me the feeling about how people are doing that I get when I see them face to face. But we, as a firm, we've learned to adapt really well. We probably move forward with some hybrid offshot of what we're kind of doing now. We'll push it a lot more because obviously there's a lot of savings and travels and things associated with doing it this way. But a lot of you guys have you know been in the age of video conferencing and FaceTiming and all that kind of stuff. So it is not, I'm imagining it's not super weird for you as it has been for me. That's a plus for you. Yeah, we'll be doing some kind of hybrid of this.
What I've also found too is that it seems that there is more of my day that is taken up in meetings than when it was just coming naturally when we were in the office. That is one thing that we have to somehow try to work through moving forward because it is really hard these days to get your work done, right, within the amount of time because we're bogged down with meetings and meetings and meetings, just almost intentional collaboration. So yeah, that's, I think, one thing that we still need to work through.
I have a question.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for that, answering all of that. And as far as like the COVID-19 and the morale in the workplace and the culture, how it changes, that was one of my biggest concerns also. So Stephen, I appreciate on that. So my question is, as far as when it comes to software, and any one of you guys can answer this question, but as far as when it comes to software, I like to dabble in a lot of different things. So anything that's new that pops up, I'm always jumping on the software, trying out things and trying to see better ways of, kicking out new projects within school and studio and things of that such. But what are some of the softwares that you guys use as a constant, and what are some of the new softwares that you guys are getting into, being able to present to your clients and also making a conveniency throughout the office that you guys got coming up?
Amy, you want to take a whack at that one?
Yeah, I can do that. I may be more connected to production than some other folks from HMC on this call. I'm a project architect. So really what we use for most of our documents production is Revit. The technology space is going in a direction where we can use Rhino and push that kind of modeling into Revit, saves us time and also allows us to get our clients into VR space. We're starting to experiment with that because everyone's already remote. Everyone's already boxed in like this. So what the heck? I do think that our digital practice group is open and allowing us to experiment with other avenues should things come up. And I think we're testing those continually. But I will say from what I know, we really lean into the Revit thing because at the end of the day, we want to build buildings, right? We got to document. So everything is in service of how do we get your ideas into a 3D space so that you can communicate them to the rest of us and we can get that built. So I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. And it's good to hear that coming from you. You say you're a project architect?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's even better because that's actually one of my aims to become once I get into a firm. So that's great to hear that from that side also. And also from a designer side, would you guys recommend using not only just Revit, but Rhino also, or like?
Yeah, so I'm a designer, junior designer, and I kind of wanted to add to that is that we are also trying to put an emphasis on design now these days versus service, meaning like construction documents and stuff like that. So Revit is our main software that we use for documentation, but the workflow from schematic design to construction documents is actually an influx of softwares that we use. So from diagramming like Adobe Illustrator or that software to Grasshopper with some of our projects, Dynamo with Revit. So there's some scripting going on that we're kind of putting an emphasis on, which will help with digital practice, which is really helpful. But there's a lot of other softwares that we're using, and I think it's also important to note from like a designer standpoint that every team that I've been on, they have accepted the kind of problem-solving skills of like which software I want to use for whichever design method I want to go through. So it's really like, if you have something you know, like a tool you know, speak up and say it, because we may or may not want to use it, right? So the main softwares are Revit, Rhino, stuff like that, stuff you learn in school too. But also, if you know the software, say it.
Yeah. Okay.
Ability. There's different programs I know that they're using out there that Eric and them to test and to look at energy modeling and things like that. We just finished for one of our clients an animation that we had to do. So, and renderings that went with it. We used Lumion, and this one, I forget the other software they use for originally.
Enscape?
Yeah.
Enscape, yeah. I love Enscape. Okay.
They've used Photoshop and some other things when they did the actual still renderings. But we're using that, we're doing a lot of animation that's really helping the district and the community understand the space and walk through the space ahead of time too, so that they know what they're getting and how to experience it ahead of time, which is, I think that's been the biggest thing as we move from AutoCAD years ago to now Revit. That's been the biggest thing to help our clients, is really helping them trying to understand that experience and what they're going to get. What is it going to feel like to be in that space? VR is doing that a lot too.
Yeah, VR, yes.
I will, if I can cap that off, I think that it is important for all of you guys to really let us know what you know. There are programs that I see on people's resumes that I have never heard of. It starts a conversation, and you guys that's what you can bring to us. A lot of us, we don't have the time in the day. We're actually not in the design as much maybe. And so bring that, if that is something you're passionate about, if that is a knowledge base that you have, bring it and talk about it, because that, to what Steve was saying earlier, that really tells us about your passions and your skills and what you can do to inform the profession. I think from an interviewing perspective, that's actually really, really important.
I wanted to highlight too, somebody noted it, but I want to make sure everybody knows, you can put questions in the chat, and we'll work our way through them also. But we want to hear where they're coming from. But if you don't, please feel free to start loading up the chat. We will call and ask you who this question came from. So you can own it.
Elizabeth, it looks like you have a question.
Yep, especially just adding on to what Antonio was talking about, especially in like these times when you said you're all 100% remote. What would it be like as a newcomer architect working at your firm? Would you have like a direct line to a mentor that you can go ask questions from whenever you have questions? Or are you expected to do most of your work on your own and understand from the start how things are supposed to come together?
Yeah, so I mean, we're very team-based, as we talked about, and so you would be put on a team with a variety of folks. We have a pretty extensive onboarding process where you're going to meet a lot of people in the firm and kind of learn like resources, whether it's in marketing or digital practice, or who you need to, IT and all kind of that. But more to the mentoring, it's more about that team that you're a part of. And there will be people like Amy and people like Steve, all in that team that will be able to kind of touch base with you, so that you won't be kind of floating out there by yourself. We all recognize that it's very difficult to start a new job during this pandemic. Although we have, I would say probably at HMC, we've had, upwards of 20 people, I would say, that have started new since we've been away this last year. So, it is incumbent on you a little bit to reach out to when you feel like you're missing something. None of us are afraid of being asked questions, and we really, that shows us your engagement. So I think it's a little bit you reaching out and definitely having us have touch points with you as well.
Yeah, I want to add to that. I'm a principal, and I've had a couple of pretty good sized teams, and whenever we bring someone into the team, regardless of who they are and their level of experience, everybody gets assigned a mentor per se, depending on what you're doing. So there's mentor, if you're studying for an exam, you automatically get a mentor, period. There's all the examinees get a mentor, somebody who's passed the exam, and a group of people who are taking the exam too. But when it comes to work, I will always make sure that you, depending on your level, that you have a mentor who's responsible for making sure, one, that you're getting what you need, you're understanding the work, and you're getting comfortable within the teams, where the total team is responsible for making sure you're getting comfortable within the team. And that is a proactive thing, not a reactive. Working to make sure you get comfortable with working in teams. But you will have one person who you can call, or two people, the one person who's assigned to query you to ask you, is everything okay? Are you getting what you need? But as Christine was saying, it's also incumbent upon you to be asking questions also, right? That report out I gave, that I talk about, that we do every day, is a great way. Everybody has to give a report out, right? No matter who you are on the team, everybody gives a report out. So it can be project-based, life-based, whatever, but you're going to have to talk. So that's kind of one way of making sure that everybody talking. When Hector talks, when we're doing our studio meetings, we reach way down, across the firm to make sure that people are give an opportunity to present, so that we can see who you are and what you bring. So we, if we don't hear you often enough, we will poke you and get you to speak up and give you something where you have to speak up and talk. So because we realize that everybody's not automatically want to jump out there and be sociable. They're quiet. So we'll work on getting you to open up if you don't do it automatically.
Another question is, I know you have a lot of different disciplines in your firm. You say you work at higher education and a lot of other things. Would you be given a chance to move around between them?
Yeah, I think with our junior designers coming in, we really want you to have the opportunity to work in all of the markets, because most likely you don't know exactly where you want your focus to be. So that is a good thing about HMC, is you can work in civic, you can work in healthcare, you can work in, pre-K-12 education or higher education, and, give you the opportunity to kind of move between studios and kind of test it out and find where your passion is. Because a lot of people don't know coming right out of school where they want, what kind of work they want to do. So we want to give you that flexibility.
Thank you. And I am sorry about the weed whacker.
Sergio, do you want to add something?
I was just gonna say you forgot interiors.
Well, I just wrap interiors into everything.
Dude,
So
you cross all the markets. So what are you talking about?
you're not separate, Sergio. You're part. So I think maybe we have time for one more question, Henry, before you guys do your breakouts, or do you need to start assigning people to rooms?
No, actually, we've already pre-assigned, so we can do one more question, or we could go to break. So, any more questions? Antonio?
I have one more question. So, as far as licensure goes, how are you guys working with that? I said that you're assigning mentors to people that are coming up, trying to become licensed architects. Because I interviewed with a firm and I had broached this question with them, and they were like, "Why would we want to waste our time getting you licensed? We already have licensed architects, And I was just like, "Okay." I'm like, I didn't understand why they were. I didn't want to go into it too much with them because I was trying to interview to get the job, but it seemed like they weren't supportive, and I was just like, "Wow, why is this? Are you looking at us as future competition, or is it the fact that it's something that you guys are just like really pushing out the product and don't care about like how you get it done and not developing the culture of the firm?"
No, licensure is really important to us. And we're actually very supportive of it. We have several groups within the firm that are focused on the AREs. We have study materials that are available to everybody in the firm who wants to use them. It's part of what you do. You have access to all of that. We are financially supportive of you taking your tests, so we will compensate. We will pay for your tests one time. And, you know, so we will work with you to make sure that you have your IDP hours where you need them. We want to, you know, talk with you regularly about, you know, what aspects of the IDP you haven't achieved yet and where we can kind of move you to get that. A lot of us are mentors in IDP, signing off hours for people. So no, we're very focused on licensure. It's really important to us. We feel it only strengthens our firm to have more licensed architects, and that it's really important kind of progression.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think Hector will probably add a lot to this too, but we have a really structured program around licensure to help people. We value teaching and learning as a lifelong thing. So we have put into place many different programs for continued education, including licensure, and I getting software. Again, I'm interviewing a lot of things. We don't assume that people come with all these skills and that they are ever evolving, ever changing. And so we have to have programs that help you evolve and change as you grow and as you learn more. And our licensure program here at HMC is amazing, and the amount of investment we put into helping all our folks. We have anywhere from between 20 and 30 people in a licensing process at any given time. So you are never alone in the process here. And always, you know, as Christine was saying, plenty of people who are willing to sign off on your hours. We'll move you around and organize you in such a way that you can get your hours in, so you can sit for the exam. So we are very, very structured and committed to it.
I would even say we feel like it's our responsibility.
Yeah.
It's our responsibility to train that next generation, to give you the skills and the training and the knowledge and the experience to become architects. Just like it's going to be your responsibility to train even that next generation. If we're going to continue to grow ourselves as a firm and as individuals, and continue to be great stewards of the built environment, it's our responsibility to train everybody, to give you the skills. And it's not just a one way, it's really both ways. You teach us as much as we teach you. And that's really important. I know when I sat down with the people that I mentor, we talked about how do we make time for you to be able to study, or what are those skills that you really need that maybe we haven't focused on enough to make you a holistic architect, and make sure we're filling your passion and your why you get up in the morning. That's really important to us. You know, you as a person, as we've said many times, is really important to us, and being an architect is a big step. It gives you a lot of credibility too, to the client, to the people you work with, when you can call yourselves an architect. And it's important at the end of the day to be able to have that title and not just say I work for an architectural firm, but I'm an architect.
And just one last thing, our company is so serious about this. We've invested in programs to help with licensing for our employees. We had invested in Black Spectacles before, and just recently we just invested in Amber Book because we found that was a better program to achieve licensing. So yeah, all our employees are just able to utilize that as, you know, an added, you know, benefit to them.
And it's not just architecture license. I mean, Sergio, you guys have something for interiors that you guys go after. We have LEED, we have there's CSI has the CDT and a couple other different things. So there's a whole, depending on where your passion is and what your focus wants to be, there's multiple opportunities to get certifications in different places too.